It seems obvious that theming is at the heart of the theme park experience, hence the name. But in recent years, the long-standing industry leaders have, in many instances, turned their backs on heavy theming in favour of a more subtle, arguably bland approach. With this, fans of themed entertainment have witnessed a huge shift over the last couple of decades. Gone are the days of 90s excess, replaced by the cold look of modernity. The easiest place to start this conversation is on the topic of hotels, as examples are abundant. Actually, this is an idea that has been in my mind for quite a while now, but the recent openings of Universal's Stella Resort and the new tower at Disney's Polynesian Resort have pushed me to want to take a deeper look at this trend. Universal's Stella Resort is the newest budget hotel at the Universal Studios Orlando Resort, and it's located right by Epic Universe. Supposed to have a cosmic theme, this is only really present upon a few bits of wallpaper and some starlights in the ceiling. Visually, inside, it looks a lot like their Aventura Hotel, which is another of their budget hotels. Then, the Polynesian's Island Tower is Disney's most recent offender within a long line of bland hotel openings and expansions. Other examples include Coronado Springs, Grand Destino Tower, Disney's Riviera Resort, and the new Fort Wilderness Cabins. The Island Tower at the Polynesian in isolation is a nice looking hotel, and it's fit to be the latest offering from Marriott or Hilton, and the subtle Hawaiian theming would, I'm sure, attract guests if this tower was located in Honolulu, but it's not. It's located within Walt Disney World, and sits between the original Polynesian Resort and the Grand Floridian, two beautifully themed hotels which are unique in their design, so you would never mistake them for anything but a Disney World property. That's not to say that both couldn't fit elsewhere, but they are very obvious in their theming and beautiful thanks to this. The Island Tower's lobby, with its consistent colour palette of browns and beige, is akin to any large luxury hotel offering. The pool is basic, lacking any major set pieces, and only has what I'd consider a pretty cheap and not very interactive model. The rooms, much like the lobby, really lack theming. A Disney resort should immerse you in an environment and transport you to this magical destination. This most certainly does not. Compare the tower's lobby to the original lobby at the Polynesian, or even the less detailed lobby we have today, and you can really see the drastic changes in design approach. Gone are the days of heavy theming, and in their place is, well, nothing much. Granted, not every Disney resort is as themed as the Animal Kingdom Lodge, the Polynesian, or the Wilderness Lodge. But even out of the less themed resorts, there is not one that I can point to that is as bland as the Polynesian or Coronado Towers. Some like to point to the Contemporary as an example of this, but this completely misses the historic and informed design choices of this hotel at the time it opened. Just because it may be more in line with what is trending today does not mean it is similarly lazy and devoid of a theme. In fact, I think people only point to this thanks to the more modern changes that have diluted the Contemporary's look. Far from the only hotel to have experienced this, even the smallest of recent additions to pre-existing hotels, not just the huge new towers, have been stale. I won't drone on about it, but we all remember what happened to the Boardwalk's Carousel coffee shop. So why exactly might Disney think that bland design is the way forward? With a bland design, the attention naturally comes on the actual amenities on offer at the hotel, and for the most part, the pools, restaurants, gyms, bars, and other lounge areas are of a good standard. So perhaps Disney believes that the majority of guests are more interested in the quality of offerings and far less bothered about how well themed these offerings actually are. This point can also be expanded to the hotel rooms themselves. To most people, overly themed rooms tend to feel cheap. Perhaps this is because, in the past, theming has been used to cover up cut corners within some hotel rooms. Or perhaps it's because today, a themed room immediately feels dated just thanks to the concept itself being dated, even if the room itself is brand new. A modern-looking room makes most think of two things: clean and practical. Two things very important to the hotel experience. In the 90s, Disney built a number of hotels, and in all cases opted for huge theming pieces. And having just recently walked around the All-Star resorts, they make me as nostalgic as a trip to Blizzard Beach or Typhoon Lagoon. The 1990s Disney editions were characterized by over-the-top design, and it's this 1990s altered version of the parks that many of us are nostalgic for. Personally, it's the only other version of the parks that I've ever known. And as someone who grew up stopping in Disneyland Paris's hotels, over-the-top cohesive theming is also very much what I personally nostalgically recall as a Disney hotel experience. But today, for the general public's taste, this kind of design may seem garish, over the top, and outdated. Not something they want to receive when paying the high Disney prices. Editions in the 2000s and 2010s may have kept some of this alive, but clearly those days are long gone. Disney seems to think that the money, at least as far as hotels are concerned, is in bland, modern design. Within these sort of conversations, Disney usually comes out as the worst offenders, and the trendsetters, which, for the theme park industry, typically seems to be pretty true with most things. Although these trends don't actually seem to be that far-reaching. It's a hard one to have a broad conversation about, because there aren't really that many multi-hotel theme park resorts. But when I look a little closer to home at Efteling, Phantasialand and Europa Park, it's clear to see that thankfully this trend hasn't quite reached Europe yet. This might make us all want to glare at Disney just a little bit harder. However, Disney themselves aren't coming up with these design trends. Instead, they are following much broader cultural design movements to inspire many of their recent additions. In the 1990s, many shopping malls and movie theaters were theme park-like in appearance. It wasn't odd to see giant film reels upon your local movie theatre or Grecian-like columns in your local shopping mall. But by now, most of those are long gone. The 2010s saw these ripped out and replaced by warehouse-like bland buildings. White and blank walls have become the look of today, with many pointing to Apple packaging and eventually the Apple Store as the catalyst for this. But no matter where it started, to put it simply, after an era of excess, minimalism has come into style. You might think that theme parks should be safe from this. As the name suggests, surely these should be one of the few places that theming remains. But clearly, as far as the hotels go, this isn't true. Other obvious victims include shopping and dining districts, Disney Springs and City Walk, which simply feel like malls that could be located just about anywhere. There are a couple of places at Disney Springs that do keep theming alive, such as the Hangar Bar and the Rainforest Cafe, but these are few and far between. So finally, what about the parks themselves? Are they too becoming victims? Mostly thanks to their themed nature, the majority have remained pretty safe from these trends. But there are some exceptions. Universal theme parks are pretty much unaffected. In fact, their newish concept of the Tribute Store arguably brings in more theming than ever before. Actually, the concept of a theme shop staying alive makes me very happy to see, in an age where the Universal City Walk store and World of Disney both look like bare-walled, temporary shopping mall stores, which I actually cover a little bit more in another video called Why Are Theme Park Logos So Boring? So if you want to learn more about the bland interchangeability of these, check out the link in my bio. Once this video has finished, of course. Like Universal, most of Disney's parks remain safe. But there is one near and dear to my heart that I do feel has been violently attacked by this trend. This, as I'm sure you've guessed, is Epcot. So why and exactly where is this park an exception? With its partial future theme, some of Epcot is supposed to emulate tomorrow. This concept has always posed an issue for Disney, and is typically referred to as the Tomorrowland problem. Trying to theme something to a future that doesn't yet exist is difficult. What Walt built in the 60s with Tomorrowland during the age of the space race was exciting and current. But today, our visions of tomorrow are, at the worst, not very hopeful, or at the best, aesthetically in line with what already exists. Therefore, it's a hard theme to make exciting, and is what has led to many people questioning the future of Disney's Tomorrowland, and is exactly the reason why Disney opted to build Discoveryland over in Paris instead. For now, Tomorrowland remains pretty unchanged, but recent additions at Epcot have gone in what most would consider the worst direction. The newly renamed World Celebration area of the park is littered with Apple Store-like buildings. Connections Cafe, the Creation Shop, and Club Cool all replace locations that were admittedly dated, but at least heavily themed. Now personally, I would have had these older versions stay, but practically I get why they had to go. But seeing them replaced with what we have now is sad. I kinda refuse to believe that the bare-walled Creation Shop and canteen-like Connections Cafe are the best that Disney could come up with. Lazy or cheap? Maybe. Today, the most theming we see from Disney as far as outside the park, drinking and dining locations go, is upon their cruise ships. Now, I have not yet experienced any of these for myself, but from everything I've seen, the theming looks good, or at least a lot better than what we have got in these recent hotel tower openings. With this, it seems not to be a skill issue at Imagineering. Another obvious example being the new Fantasy Springs Hotel in Tokyo Disney. Arguably, this is the most intricately themed hotel that Disney have ever created. Clearly, they think this is important within the Tokyo market, but not within the US one. With the Oriental Land Company's backing in Tokyo, budget is not so much of a restriction. So in the other resorts, it could be down to budget allocation, which has led to poor products in the past, such as, and it pains me to say, Dinoland USA. But the boring design of much of modern theme park additions seems instead to be completely purposeful. I think it will be interesting to see just how themed Universal's Grand Helios Hotel is, and I hope that it's truly impressive and showcases to the theme park industry that theming is still the way to go. Let me know, what do you think? Are you a fan of these planned additions? Do you think I'm too harsh on them? Or perhaps, do you think I'm not harsh enough? Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and check out my links in the description.